Good evening. My apologies for being late today. And thank you all for your prayers for my recovery, as your prayers were answered and we praise the Most High. Glory and honor to our Father for all things, including them, the creator of heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, the highest of the high. There is no other God but him, and he has only chosen one people. As much as people like to believe we all serve the same God on the earth, no. He's only chosen one people according to his word. And we are that bloodline according to his word. Glory and honor to his name, the Father Yahweh, and to his son, Messiah Yahweh Shai, who is the high priest of the house of Jacob and will soon come to redeem the house of Jacob along with those who are among the house of Jacob and establish his kingdom forever. Glory and honor to Father Yahweh and to Messiah Yahweh Shai. Greetings to the 12 tribes aforementioned, scattered into the four corners of the earth, again, according to the multiple witnesses of the Hebrew Israelite prophets of the King James Bible, scattered into the four corners of the earth because of oppression and slavery and the worship of other gods, who are now awakening and returning according to the prophecies to Messiah and to Father Yahweh. Greetings to the 144,000 who are now among us and are the forerunners of the return of Messiah and the establishment of his kingdom. Greetings. Greetings to the precious ones among the children of Shem and Ham and Japhet, who are not of the bloodline, and yet of the blood. By the atoning sacrifice of Messiah for the house of Israel, these have been grafted in to the precious ones of the stock of Israel. Greetings. And to the chat, my precious brothers and sisters, listen to your brother, the Daniels, Brother Gary Joseph, TL, Hebrew is Rhonda. Brother Gary Joseph, we got to touch base. Ricky Boyd, Brother David Harriet, Akawan Banya, Imana Bakar, Superstar, Brother Brandon Breckman, Brother Manny, Wilton Mena, Psalm 119. Josh Amar, my brother, Stephen Kelly. Greetings to all of you. We're going to discuss what you saw in the thumbnail. I have posted the link to that video in the description box, but we'll touch base in a little while on that. I want to just establish some things early, things that we who are committed to the faith of Messiah understand. But I am finding I'm getting some messages from people who are Christians and don't understand. And that's understandable because of the serious brainwashing that the world is in through Christianity. When the Bible says in Revelation chapter 12, most people don't take the Bible literally or seriously enough to understand what it means. When it says something that says what it means and it means what it says. Revelation chapter 12, beginning at verse 7 and going to verse 9. Revelation chapter 12, beginning at verse 7 and going to verse 9. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. And the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan. And here's the part I wanted to highlight, which deceiveth the whole world. Which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Same witness, Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13, verse 4. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him? Let's go up a little bit to verse 3, though. And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. Brethren, if we are to come to truth, when we come to the truth and the true knowledge of ourselves, which the Bible gives us, a true knowledge of self. When you come to a knowledge of self, you will be coming out of darkness into the marvelous light, as the Bible says. And the reason, brethren, is because before that, all the world was deceived, and we were all the world. So if you come to a knowledge of self and of truth from the word, you are one of the few, a remnant, because most all the world, the Bible said, is deceived. Let's look at another witness, because again, as part of our doctrinal beliefs, which we believe the Bible doctrine, when we go to have a Bible doctrine, we don't just use one verse, do we? When we go to have a Bible doctrine, we don't just use one verse, right? What do we do, brethren? When we go have a Bible doctrine, we decide that something is a legit Bible teaching, right? How do we make that determination that something is a legit Bible teaching? How do we do that? Y'all know, how do we come to the conclusion that something we're studying is a legit Bible teaching? That's right. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established. Now, for the sake of those who may be a little ignorant of what we mean or what the Bible means by 2 or 3 witnesses, I just gave you 2 verses, right? Y'all heard me. I gave you 2 verses to support the devil deceiving the whole world and the devil being cast out of heaven. How many witnesses did I just give you when I gave you those 2 verses? Was that 2 witnesses? Was that 2 witnesses that I just gave you? Oh, it was 1? Wait, but I gave you 2 verses. I gave you 2 verses. What do you mean? That's only 1 witness. Why is it? How is it that you're coming up with 1 witness? I gave you 2 verses. That's right. Because it was 1 writer, John, right? It was 1 writer, John, that we got this witness. So that's 1 witness. So here I'm turning to Luke chapter 10. I'm turning to Luke chapter 10, right? And I'm going to read Luke chapter 10. And I'm going to begin at verse 17 and go down to verse 18. Luke chapter 10 from verse 17 to verse 18. And this is Luke, who also was the writer of Acts. But you see, even though it is Luke, and Luke is a witness, we're getting this witness not only from Luke, but from Messiah himself, right? So it's Messiah that Luke is quoting here. And so Luke is a witness, or you could say Messiah. But here, and the 70 returned again with joy, saying, Master, even the devils are subject unto us through thy name. And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. Did you? He said, I beheld Satan as lightning. And the Bible said there was war in heaven. And Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and was cast out. I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. Messiah also called the devil the father of lies. One more, because in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. So let's look at Isaiah chapter 14 as our 3rd witness. We're not even warmed up yet. We just kind of loosening up here. We got some studying to do, brethren. We got some studying to do. This is going to be what we call in our Hebrew thing, the Bible study. This is called a Bible study. This is called a Bible study. Right. That's right, Brandon. This is pre-game. That's right. It's not game time yet. This is pre-game. Okay. That's right. That's right. Isaiah chapter 14. Isaiah 14, verse 12. From verse 12 down to verse, man, we could do it. From verse 12 down to verse 15. Isaiah chapter 14, from verse 12 down to verse 15. No, it's past Arkawan Banya because notice Messiah said he witnessed it, right? And he was on the earth at the time. And then John wrote it as something that already happened. And there was, he said, war, right? So he's, and remember, John is writing about what was, what is, and what is to come. Right? So he said there was war in heaven. Okay. So yeah, so no, it's there is a war, but it is now on the earth, right? Because the war that was in heaven, Asatan was cast onto the earth, and now the war is here. And as long as he's alive, the war continues. Right? And that's why the Bible says until the end of the war, desolations are determined. Okay? Right, exactly, Arkawan Banya. And Arkawan Banya, you just showed why we read our whole Bible and not just one verse and not just the New Testament. We read our whole Bible. Why? Because Arkawan can say, wait a minute, but he came to heaven in Job. And then if you want to really look at it, he was up there. Remember when the prophet told Ahab, you're going to die when you go up to Ramoth Gilead. He said, the Most High had a meeting, and he said a lying spirit came up and said, I'm going to put a lying spirit in all his prophets. He said, hey, go ahead and do it. That was Asatan, a lying spirit. So see, you got 2 Kings, you got what you say? You got Revelation, and you got Job. 3 witnesses. Look at that. Look at that. There you go, Brother Ricky Boy. Y'all don't know. This is like fresh water to me. Y'all just, oh my goodness. Y'all really praise the Most High. I'm so happy. All right. So Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12. Pre-game. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of Yahweh. I will sit also upon the mountain of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. There you go. 3 witnesses. So that's how we do things here. And the reason is because that's what the Bible teaches us. Please read your Bible. Start at Genesis and go through the Revelation prayerfully with your Heavenly Father's Spirit. And when you get done with that, start over. Praise the Most High. Now, in the Bible, to the Most High, he tells us what matters to him in the Bible. And on the earth, there's only one thing that matters to him. His people. Let me say that again. From before he made the earth, there's only one thing that matters to him. His people. That's it. 2 or 3 witnesses. We're getting warmer now. We're getting warmer. We're still in pregame. We're getting warmer now, though. Zechariah. You know I'm going there, Akawambaya. You know I'm going there. Zechariah chapter 2. Zechariah chapter 2. Let's see. I'm going to start at verse 1 and go to verse 8. Zechariah chapter 2 from verse 1 to verse 8. Ready? Witness 1. I lifted up mine eyes again and looked, and behold, a man with a measuring line in his hand. Then said I, whither goest thou? And he said unto me, to measure Jerusalem. To measure who? Yes, Jerusalem. To see what is the breadth thereof and what is the length thereof. And behold, the angel that talked with me went forth, and another angel went out to meet him and said unto him, run, speak to this young man, saying, Jerusalem shall be inhabited as towns without walls, for the multitude of men and cattle therein. For I, saith Yahweh, will be unto her a wall of fire round about, and will be the glory in the midst of her. Ho, ho, come forth and flee from the land of the north, saith Yahweh. For I have spread you abroad as the four winds of the heaven, saith Yahweh. I have spread you abroad as the four winds of the heaven. Deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest with the daughter of Babylon. For thus saith Yahweh of hosts, after the glory he hath sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that touches you touches the apple of his eye. You know, it's interesting. In Zechariah, the governor was Zerubbabel. Zerubbabel, as we have learned when we studied this before, Zerubbabel means descending from Babylon. Descending from Babylon. So he called a bunch of people who was descending from Babylon. Praise the Most High. Wait a minute, that's just one witness. Deuteronomy, I love this one. Deuteronomy chapter 32. Deuteronomy chapter 30. Is it 32? Well, wait a minute, I'll tell you. Yes, it is. Deuteronomy chapter 32. Watch. My second witness. The only thing that matters on the earth to the Most High is his people. Particularly his bloodline people. Particularly. I'm going to give you a witness. Deuteronomy chapter 32 from verse 7 down to verse 9. Deuteronomy chapter 32 from verse 7 to verse 9. Remember the days of old. Listen carefully now. Deuteronomy 32, 7 to 9. This is after Zechariah chapter 2, 1 to 8. Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee. Thy elders, and they will tell thee. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. It's when the earth was created. He was thinking already of the children of Israel. For Yahweh's portion is his people. I think that's pretty plain, isn't it? Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. I could be wrong, but I think that's pretty plain, right? Right? I think so, right? Well, in the mouth of two, we could stop there, but you know me, 2 or 3 witnesses, right? Hegi. Oh, Hegi is a powerful prophet. They call him a minor prophet, but he is in no way minor. No, he's not. Hegi is a prophet of the same time period of Zerubbabel and the rebuilding of the temple. So his prophecy is not just the rebuilding of the temple, but is, of course, the establishment of the kingdom which we are about to inherit, which we are the forerunners of. Hegi chapter 2. Hegi chapter 2. I'm going to show you something here. Hegi chapter 2. I'm going to begin. Oh, yes. I'm going to begin at verse 20. I'm going to read from verse 20 down to verse 23. Hegi chapter 2. From verse 20 to verse 23. Ready? Again and again the word of Yahweh came unto Hegi in the 24th day of the month, saying, Speak unto Zerubbabel, governor of Judah, saying, I will shake the heavens and the earth, and I will overthrow the throne of kingdoms, and I will destroy the strength of the kingdoms of the heathen, and I will overthrow the chariots and those that ride in them. The horses and their riders shall come down, every one by the sword of his brother. In that day, saith Yahweh of hosts, I will take thee, O Zerubbabel, my servant, the son of Shealtiel, saith Yahweh, and I will make thee as a signet, a sign. For I have chosen thee, saith Yahweh. He only cares about one people. Wait a minute. What about Messiah? Didn't he love everybody? Jesus loves all of us. Jesus died for this. God so loved the world. You ready? Luke, let's go back to Luke. I'll open right to it too. And I'm telling you, I promise, I did not have this marked. I just opened the scripture and it went right to the verse that I wanted. You think the Father wants us to talk about this? I think so. Okay, Luke chapter 1. Luke chapter 1. I'm going to start at verse 27. And I'm going to go from verse 27 down to verse 34. Luke chapter 1. From verse 27 to verse 34. And we're going to focus on verse 33, just letting you know. That's right. Let's find out. To a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph of the house of David. And the virgin's name was Miriam or Mary. And the angel came in unto her and said, Hail thou that art highly favored, Yahweh is with thee, blessed art thou among women. And when she saw him, she was troubled at his saying, and cast in her mind what manner of salutation this should be. And the angel said unto her, Fear not, Mary, for thou hast found favor with Yahweh. And behold, thou shalt conceive in thy womb and bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Jesus. Jesus. That's the name the Greeks gave him. His real name is Yahweh Shah. But okay, let's go with Jesus for now. Thou shalt call his name Jesus. Watch now. He shall be great and shall be called the Son of the Highest. And Yahweh Most High shall give him the throne of David, his father. David is the tribe of Judah, right? 12 tribes, right? Wait a minute. Verse 33. And he shall reign, Messiah, the one they call Jesus, shall reign over the house of Jacob. Did you see that? He said, he shall reign over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there shall be no end. Then said Miriam unto the angel, how shall this be, seeing I know not a man? He shall reign over the house of Jacob. He that touches you, Israel, touches the apple of his eye. He set bounds for all the nations, especially for the house of Israel. And he's going to overthrow all the kingdoms of this earth. He shall reign over the house of Jacob forever. Wait a minute. While we in the Gospels and stuff, right? While we're here. Let's go to chapter 19 of Matthew. Matthew chapter 19. Matthew chapter 19. Go start at verse 24 and go down to verse 28. Matthew chapter 19. While we're here, from verse 24 to 28. I got a reason for bringing this up, and it has to do with the video, with the link, with the thumbnail that you saw. Watch. And again, I say unto you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of Yahweh. When his disciples heard it, they were exceedingly amazed, saying, Who then can be saved? But Yahushua beheld them and said unto them, With men this is impossible, but with Yahweh all things are possible. Then answered Kapha, or Peter, and said unto him, Behold, we have forsaken all and followed thee. What shall we have therefore? And Yahushua said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, He shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. There is nobody on the earth more important to the Father than the true bloodline of Israel. There is nobody more important to him. Okay? Now, before I go forward, I want to make sure that based on the 5 witnesses, I think we got 5, based on the 5 witnesses that I showed you. Let's not count Luke chapter 10, because that was just showing Asatan leaving heaven, right? So let's say we got 4 witnesses. Based on the 4 witnesses that I showed you, right? You'll thoroughly understand that the bloodline is the only thing that matters on this earth to the Father. I just want to make sure, was I clear about that? Did the Father send the Messiah first for the bloodline? Like that was the primary purpose, right? Okay. Now, with that in mind, if that is the case, and Brother Arkawan Banya, you asked a very important question earlier. The Spirit led you to do that. I want to tell you. Seriously. Flesh and blood didn't lead you to do that. His question was, is there a war still going on at the moment? But he was asking if it was in the third heaven. And I said, no, it's here on the earth. Right? There is a spiritual war taking place on the earth. Okay? Right? So, the commander of our enemies, army, do you think he hates the bloodline? Do you think he hates the bloodline? Would he not want to destroy all the bloodline? Is that correct? All right, y'all got that, right? Okay. So, now let me tell you a story, a true story. There was this nation, and the nation needed workers because this nation were groups of people that broke off from another nation in the continent of Europe. And in the area of Europe, I don't know if you would call that a continent, but in the area of Europe. So they broke off from Europe and they were starting a new nation. They came and found a land that was vast with resources, not just the basics of what you need in terms of fresh, unpolluted water, but fertile land, thick, strong trees, and the land such that they could grow almost anything in it. And it was a vast land. Now, there were some people already here. That was no problem because when they came from where they came from, they brought diseases with them that they didn't even realize they had. So when they came to even speak to the people that were already on this beautiful land, they were killing them with smallpox. And most of the people of the land died from that. But those that were left, of course, they did discover gunpowder at that time. And it created guns. And they, of course, had swords and they killed most of the other ones. So they took over the land. But they tried to put what was left of those people that were already on the land to work. But the people that were already on the land were already, again, sick from the disease that our European friends brought them. And they just weren't built for that heavy labor. So our friends from Europe heard that there was these stockier, more muscular people on the continent of Africa. And that they could be made, that others had, of their own cousins, had already kidnapped some of them and made them do work in other lands. And they said, we could do that. So they got on their ships. They made their long travel. They would buy the slaves or capture some if they wanted to. Bring them back and started working them. And they were vastly building up their wealth. Now, They were much more successful than even they dreamed. For through these husky, strong people that they enslaved, not only could these brothers make the trip across the ocean, sometimes living in their own feces, sometimes being underfed, they made the trip anyway. But they could build, they could work, they could farm. They knew about horses. They knew about how to handle iron. They understood things that savages didn't understand. They were circumcising, and these people from Europe didn't even understand what that was. And so these brothers helped them build this land to fabulous wealth in cotton and in tobacco, especially. Fabulous wealth. And of course, with their friends, their cousins doing the same thing in the Caribbean, sugar as well. So now they actually had all they needed. But the slaves didn't want to remain slaves. And herein lies a problem. Because they never intended for these people to actually be citizens with them. They thought they were doing those guys a favor by saying they were at least 3/5 of a human. Not quite human. I mean, human enough to have babies and sex with them, but not quite human enough to be considered equal with our European friends. So they had to do something about it. So they set laws. They created people. They gave a society of people a star to wear to hunt down these slaves if they ever escaped. Easy to tell them because they had this stuff in their skin that made their skin anywhere from a light brown like mine to dark pitch black like night. And so you could easily spot them because they weren't as pale as our European friends. So their skin was a badge that would give them away. And then later they used this same force of people to become a force called police. Now, over time, in spite of all of this, the brothers from that continent of Africa grew and became strong and were making our European friends nervous because some of them even learned the king's language and could write in the king's language and could inspire their people. Some of them were causing riots. Can't have that. So they were devising various ways to separate themselves or separate these people from them. And at the same time, hopefully destroy them or reduce their population. You know, the story of Egypt with the Israelites in Exodus chapter 1. In fact, let's take a look at it because it perfectly explains what I'm talking about. Exodus chapter 1. Exodus chapter 1. And let's begin in Exodus chapter 1. Let's begin at verse 12. Go from verse 12 down to verse 22. Exodus chapter 1, 12 to 22. This is not the exact same people. Oh, it is the same people, but the Egyptians are not the Europeans, but they played that role. The Europeans played that role. Okay, so here the Europeans played the Egyptian role here. So here in Exodus chapter 1 from verse 12, but the more they afflicted them, that means the more the Egyptians afflicted the Hebrews, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage. In mortar and in brick and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they were made to serve was with rigor. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, spoke to the people helping bear the children, of which the name of the one was Shipra, the name of the other was Puah. And he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared Yahweh and did not as the king of Egypt commanded, but saved the children alive. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have ye done this thing, and have saved the children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively and are delivered ere the ear wives come in unto them. Therefore Yahweh dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. And it came to pass, because of the midwives feared Yahweh, that they made them houses. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born ye shall cast into the river, and every daughter ye shall save alive. So he said, kill all the males, but save the females. That's what happened here. Now, over the course of time, make a long story short, a man came along named Freeway Ricky Ross, Southern California, not the rapper, the real deal, Southern California. Okay. And he made a deal with certain guys that happened to work for some U.S. government agencies to bring a certain type of cocaine into the neighborhoods in South Central Los Angeles. This was cocaine, but it was changed into a form that was 10 times more powerful than as it was naturally. And it was cheap. You can get totally hooked on $10 worth. Okay. And they gave this to him, but it was spreading so fast. People were getting hooked so quickly that it spread from South Central LA, and brothers heard about it in San Francisco, and brothers heard about it in Cincinnati, and brothers heard about it in Louisville, and brothers heard about it in Chicago and Arkansas and New York. It was spread all over the country. Now, at this time, people were saying, we got to stop this crime. We got to stop this crime. We got to get tough on the criminals. Now, all of this drug was in neighborhoods that had been pre-planned. The neighborhoods were pre-planned, what we call redlined, so that most of the descendants of those former slaves from Africa, they lived in those neighborhoods. And Freeway Ricky Ross was told, distribute this in those neighborhoods. And he did. And Ricky Ross was making over $1 million a day at some point. He had so much cash, he would stack whole bedrooms full of cash, didn't know what to do with the money. Friends of his say he would hand them $80,000 or $100,000, say, I'm going to come back and get it later, and forget about it because he was making so much. He couldn't keep up with it. That was just in one place. That's not including Philly. That's not including Miami, Atlanta, Dallas, Houston. That's not including New Orleans. Okay? That's not including Montgomery. It was happening everywhere. Okay? Everywhere. And the money was flowing. And nobody, all the government seemed to be looking the other way. Then when it got really bad, where people were killing, where you started seeing 12-year-old, 9-year-old kids hooked on it, and people shooting up, gangs killing each other with very expensive guns, that somehow ended up in those neighborhoods. Somehow. But they got to get tough on this crime. So they eventually settled on this 3 strikes law, where if you got caught selling drugs or breaking any of the 3 felonies, you're getting life in prison. And so most of the felons from these trade were the former slaves from Africa. And the prison system quadrupled in size. They just happened to build all of these privatized prisons, and somebody was making money on those prisons. I don't know. So they had to get tough on crime. They really rounded up scores and scores and scores of these former slaves, killed a lot of them, and put a lot of them in jail for life. Of course, whole generation died between the wars and the effects of the drug itself. Okay. but we still grew. So now, and the other day, well, before I even go there, being that we are the bloodline original Hebrews of the Bible, because why, again, I could give you lots of witnesses, but we fit all the description the Bible gives of the Hebrews. Let's go into some. They looked like ancient Egyptians. Moses was taken for an Egyptian. Joseph was taken for an Egyptian. Paul was taken for an Egyptian. In fact, Joseph had 2 children with an Egyptian woman, which became 2 of the biggest tribes in Israel, Ephraim and Manasseh. So they looked like Egyptians, had woolly hair like Egyptians, were taken into slavery with chains around their necks and placed on ships. They were scattered throughout all the earth as slaves. They would be the lowest ones, the lowest paid, the most diseased, a byword among the nations. The nations would forget where they come from, and so would they. They would serve mostly the sons of Japhet at the end, which are the Europeans. And the Europeans would buy them from the children of Ham in Africa and buy and sell them cheap. And so when you add all of these things up, and they would flee into Africa also, into deep Africa, to escape the onslaught of the nations trying to enslave them. Now, how many people on planet Earth fit all of those descriptions? I mean, totally fit all of them. Looked like ancient Egyptians, which means they were melanated, had chains around their necks, melanated people with woolly hair having chains around their necks, were into the continent of Africa and were taken from there by nations beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. How many people on the earth fit that description? Would forget who their forefathers were, and the nations would forget who they were. How many people on the earth? Is it the Chinese? Does that fit their description? How about the Russians? Did that fit their description? Maybe it's the British? No, it's got to be the Germans. Deutschland. No, there's only one people. It's the so-called African Americans, the so-called Black people. It's us. So we are the bloodline, okay? We're the bloodline Hebrews. So being that that's the case, according to what we just proved from the scriptures, okay? And we know Satan hates us because the Most High loves us above all. The Bible also teaches us that we would start to awaken from the curses. Deuteronomy chapter 30. Y'all know Deuteronomy chapter 30. I can go all night on this one now. Talk about 2 or 3 witnesses. Deuteronomy chapter 30, beginning at verse 1 and going down to verse 3. Deuteronomy chapter 30, beginning at verse 1, going down to verse 3. And it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessings and the curse which I have set before thee. Notice it said, when the blessing and then the curse come before thee. So the last thing is the curse. And thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations where the Yahweh thy Most High have driven thee, shalt call them to mind. That is the curse. Hey, listen, y'all ever wonder why us? Why did these bad things happen to us? When you see some of your cousins, your brothers, your friends shot in the street or in jail for a long time, and then when you go to visit your friend that's in jail, right? You see everybody looks like you. You ever wonder why us? You ever wonder why, if you grew up in a Black neighborhood and you see the stores, there's always a Chinese food store. There's always a convenience store, usually run by East Indians. The Chinese food store is run by the Chinese. You usually have like a cleaners run by some guy that's Russian or something. But nobody that looks like us is running a business in those neighborhoods. You ever notice that? Why is it us that's the tail? Right? It tells us right here. It's going to come to your mind. And shalt return unto Yahweh thy most high. We'll talk about that more in a second. And shalt obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that then Yahweh thy most high will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations where the Yahweh thy most high have scattered. Now we know what's happening right now as I'm speaking to you. Now, brethren, we started asking these questions, and then through the answer of us being cursed, we understood who we were. That's why I said, when all these things shall come upon thee, the blessing and the curse. And then Hosea said, woe unto them when I depart from them. And then another prophet said, they shall seek me when I leave them. They shall seek me early. And then Messiah himself said, I'm going to allow this to happen until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. Now, when he made us a nation, and that's what the Father did, he did not make us a religion. And this is the thing that a lot of, unfortunately, brainwashed, especially in the first world country, Christianity has brainwashed people. You can't think in terms of worshiping a God without it being an organized religion. I mean, right? People keep, what denomination is this? What's the type of religion this is? People are looking for some organized religious entity. The Father did not make an organized religious entity. He made a nation. From Abraham, he said, I'm going to make you a great nation. You see, that's why there's a fallacy, and people say, well, there are 3 Abrahamic religions. Abraham didn't create no religion. That wasn't his call. He wasn't told to create a religion. What was he told? I'm going to make of thee a great nation. A nation. So the Father created through Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. They were the forefathers of a nation of people, which is us. Okay. With that nation, he gave them laws and commandments. You know, the United States has a constitution. Correct? Is that right or wrong? The United States has a constitution to govern the nation. To govern the nation. Well, guess what? Before there was ever a United States, we were Hebrew Israelites. And before there was ever a United States, he gave us a constitution, and he gave us laws and commandments and statutes to govern the nation. Okay? Now, among those commandments and statutes, he gave us 3 appointed times of feast. Right? He gave us 3 feasts. The Feast of Unleavened Bread, otherwise known as the Passover. The Feast of Weeks, otherwise known as Pentecost. And then the last feast of the year, the Feast of Tabernacles, otherwise known as the Feast of Ingathering. 3 appointed feasts, and then 1 time of Holy Convocation, which was not a feast. It was a day of atonement to take sin off of us. And after that, the biggest feast of the year was the Feast of Tabernacles. That was party time. Oh, you don't think they partied? Oh, you thought they had tea and crumpets and they were just good Christians with long dresses? Wait, let me show you. Deuteronomy chapter 16. No, not 16. No, not 16. Chapter 14. Deuteronomy chapter 14. Deuteronomy chapter 14. By the way, they collected tithe once every 3 years. See, there wasn't no reverend reaching in their pockets Talking about pay your tithe and you'll get blessed. This church run by your faithful tithe. Let's read the scriptures. See, brethren, this is the problem that I have. This is my problem. I could only follow this book. I cannot follow anybody's book. I don't want to hear no Reverend Doctor, whatever, from seminary, so-and-so. I can only follow this book. That's it. The whole thing. Okay, wait. Deuteronomy 14. Now, Deuteronomy 14, first of all, we're going to start at verse 2 for a second. Okay? Verse 2. For thou art a holy people unto Yahweh thy most high, and Yahweh hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself above all the nations that are upon the earth. Wait, can I read that again? Just for people that don't understand that there's only one group of people that he cares about on planet earth. Just one. I know God's all over the world, but what world? Who in the world we talking about? Because Messiah said in the same book of John, I pray not for the world. Reconcile that, please, you Christians. I pray not for the world. Same book of John. Anyway, let me read verse 2 again. For thou art a holy people unto Yahweh thy most high, and Yahweh hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people to himself above all the nations that are upon the earth. Thou shalt not eat any abominable thing. So in all they partying, right? They weren't going to have no pig. They weren't going to break out the shrimp or the crabs. So he had some control. He wanted them to be above all the people of the earth. So he didn't want them to just eat anything. And we who are the Israelites, we have an understanding, unlike, unfortunately, the brainwashed ones among Christianity, Yahweh doesn't change. Because Jesus died on the cross doesn't mean a pig is clean now. A crab is still a crab. A bottom feeder was a bottom feeder then, and it's still a bottom feeder. Wait. So now he had all the clean and unclean foods. Yeah, no lobster, no crab. What's the name of that bottom feeder fish that our fathers had to go eat because there was nothing else to eat? They catch it in the swamps. It was a bottom feeder, and people still eat it now. What's the name of that fish? Y'all know. I never ate it. And I'm not saying because I'm better than you, I just never ate it. Catfish. That's it. Catfish. Y'all know. Y'all all know. No catfish, fam. No catfish. Bottom feeder. No fins and scale. Okay. Now wait. This is Deuteronomy chapter 14. You want to know what to eat? Look at Deuteronomy chapter 14. Now it's written very plainly in there. Okay, now, wait. Now, let's skip down to the party part. Yeah, and I'm not saying I never ate it because, like, I ate pork before, and I ate shrimp before. Shrimp fried rice used to be my thing. I'd go in for $5, eat shrimp fried rice. But, I woke up. Praise the Most High. I was awakened by the Father. Praise the Most High. But wait, Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 22. I'm going to start at verse 22. All right, follow me now. Deuteronomy 14, from verse 22 down to verse 29. It's going to teach you some things about partying with the Hebrew Israelites and tithing. Ready? Thou shalt truly tithe all the increase of thy seed that the field bringeth forth year by year. Thou shalt eat before Yahweh thy most high in the place which he shall choose to place his name there. The tithe of thy corn, of thy wine, of thy oil, of the firstlings of thy flock, of thy flocks, that thou mayest learn to fear Yahweh thy most high always. And if the way be too long for thee, so that thou art not able to carry it, or if the place be too far from thee, which Yahweh thy Most High shall choose to set his name there. When Yahweh thy Most High bless thee, then thou shalt turn it into money and bind up the money in thy hand, and thou shalt go to the place which Yahweh thy Most High shall choose. And thou shalt bestow that money into Rib and Doctor's pocket. Thou shalt bestow that money into the church building fund. What you supposed to do with that money? Let's find out. Verse 26. Watch carefully now. And thou shalt bestow that money for whatsoever thy soul lusteth after, for oxen, or for sheep, or for wine, or for strong drink. Wait, let me read that again. I don't think y'all caught that one. This is for the feast. Deuteronomy 14:26. Deuteronomy 14:26. Listen now. And thou shalt bestow that money for whatsoever thy soul lusteth after, for oxen, clean meat, for sheep, or for wine. This ain't Welch's grape juice they talking about. Or for strong drink. We'll make it plain. Or for whatsoever thy soul desires. Wait a minute. Keep reading now. We're not finished yet. Watch this now. We're not finished. For thou shalt eat there before Yahweh thy Most High, and thou shalt rejoice, thou and thy household, and the Levite that is within thy gates. Thou shalt not forsake him, for he hath no part nor inheritance with thee. At the end of 3 years thou shalt bring forth all the tithe of thine increase in the same year, and lay it up within thy gates. And the Levite, because he hath no part nor inheritance with thee, and the stranger, and the fatherless, I ain't seen building fund yet, and the widow, which are within thy gates, shall come and shall be satisfied, and Yahweh thy Most High may bless thee in all the work of thy hands which thou doest. Now wait, who are the Levites today? They the same bloodline Levites. Well, how come we not giving the tithe to the Levites? Because we not in the land. We're strangers scattered into our enemies' land. You shouldn't be giving no tithes to no Reverend Doctor for no daggone building fund. He just pimping y'all. In fact, Christianity is pimping y'all from the beginning. Now, first of all, let's look at results. Now, this awakening that the Bible talks about, that we're all now a part of, I say we can really say that in the last, let's say 20 years, it's really gained strength more than all the times previous of the 400 years we've been captive in the United States. Is that correct? Am I making that assumption properly? Like the real broad awakening among the Hebrews. Among the Hebrews of who they are. I say in the last 20 years, maybe, perhaps 25. I mean, there was people previously, like your Marcus Garvey's, he was awakening, and, so was Nat Turner and others. But I'm talking about on a broad, wide basis among the common people of us, right? Not entertainers. No. Not Kanye. No. Not talking about Mari Stama tattooing whatever sticker on his star on his. No, we talking about a broad awakening of the people. About 25 years, right? About 25 years. Now, we've been serving white Jesus for 400 years in America, and probably longer in some other places. Well, let's be honest. Can we be honest and true? Can we bear witness? Has white Jesus freed us from our slavery? Has white Jesus given us a knowledge of self? Come on, be honest now. What has been the result? I mean, maybe we don't have enough white Jesus churches. Is that what the problem is? Maybe there's just not enough of the Christian churches. Is there Christian churches on the south side of Chicago? Is there Christian churches in Miami? Is there Christian churches in Orlando? Is there Christian churches in Atlanta? Do they have Christian churches in Dallas or Houston? Well, then they must be, then all of the Hebrews must be awakened in them places. We must have been freed then, right? I mean, we must have been overcome. We must have gotten ready for the kingdom, right? So we've been served. Wait, so you mean we've been serving white Jesus for centuries and we ain't got no better? Like, not at all. Like, we haven't developed, we haven't marched forward in any particular way. So now that brings me to the thumbnail. So the Father gave us 3 feasts. Guess what, brethren? I'm going to make sure y'all can hear me when I'm about to tell you. Are you ready? Testing 1, 2, 3. Are you ready? Testing 1, 2, 3. You ready? Ready? Here we go. Here we go. So the Father gave the chosen people who are scattered and now awakening 3 appointed feasts. We can't keep them, but we mark them because we know we're going to keep them one day in the kingdom very shortly. Okay, Asatan wants to be like the Most High. He also has 3 appointed feasts. You want to hear them? I think you know who they are. I think you and I even used to keep these feasts and party during them, but there's a difference in his feast and Yah's feast. Let's talk about it. We just had one. One of the appointed feasts of Asatan is Christmas. Have you heard of that one? With Santa Claus? White Santa Claus? Christmas. That's an appointed feast of Asatan. Okay? Now, so my wife and I, we always, when we see it now, we say, oh, that's the appointed feast of the God of this world. This is the appointed feast of the people whose kingdom is this kingdom. You see, brethren, the children of Japhet, Gog and Magog, the Bible tells us in Genesis and Revelation and Ezekiel, 3 witnesses, Gog and Magog come from Europe, and they are the last people on earth to run Asatan's kingdom. Right? And their 3 appointed feasts. Christmas. This woman that you see in the thumbnail, she was coming up the driveway with her 10-month-old child in her hand. Inside her house, she had 2 brothers, one 14, one 15, 14 and 15-year-old brothers. These all are bloodline Hebrews. Let me say it again. They're all bloodline Hebrews. Now, let me explain for those that may be a little ignorant in this, and I'm not saying that to be negative. I'm just trying to tell you, we was all ignorant at one point, so let's awaken from our ignorance. Look, there are 2 types of Hebrews on planet Earth. There are bloodline Hebrews that are awakened, and there are bloodline Hebrews that don't know who they are. Let me say that again. There are 2 types of Hebrews on planet Earth. There are bloodline Hebrews who are awakened, and there are bloodline Hebrews who don't know who they are. Let me give you an example. You and I in this room right here are bloodline Hebrews who are awakened because we know who we are. We now have a knowledge of self. We know where we come from. We know how we got here, and we know where we're going. That is a bloodline Hebrew who is awakened. Let me give you some that don't know who they are. Herschel Walker, Ben Carson. You've heard of them? Kanye West. You ever heard of them? Bloodline Hebrews who don't know who they are. Okay? That's an example. And I can name a lot of more. Y'all know where I'm going now. Okay? That's bloodline Hebrews don't know who they are. Don Lemon. Don't know who he is. Jesse Jackson. Right. Al Sharpton. Okay. So, and you could tell, brethren, Asatan's 3 feasts. And he's got a 4th holy convocation. Oh, yes. So the three feasts, first Christmas. Now, the sister walking up the driveway. The 14 and the 15-year-old are arguing because one of them feels that he didn't get the same value present as his brother. So they're arguing violently. And the argument spills out into the yard of the front of the house. One of the brothers pulls out a gun on his brother to kill his brother because the Christmas present wasn't right. And instead he shoots his sister dead because the Christmas present wasn't right. That's Asatan's feast. The second one, well, should I say I don't care. The next one is Easter. Ishtar, Easter eggs, bunny rabbits, goddess of fertility. Now, the third one is Halloween, All Hallows Eve. Now, the thing that they all have in common, aside from all being from Asatan, aside from all being non-biblical, aside from all being created by Europeans, aside from all of that, the thing that they all have in common is they draw children. Did you notice that? All three of them are pagan rituals that draw in children. Did you notice that? And one of the distinguishing marks that the Father warned us about in Leviticus 18 is sacrificing our children. The Father warned us about sacrificing our children, brethren. And these three of Asatan's feasts, first and foremost, draw children. They draw children so much that if you a grown man and somebody asked you on your job, and I'm sure this might have happened to you since you've been awakened, even before you, if you were just even a Jehovah's Witness, I mean, they don't even do it. But listen, and you said, we don't do Christmas or Kwanzaa, and hell no on that Hanukkah. But no, we don't do Christmas. They will ask you, tell me if I'm lying to you, what about your children? Tell me, is that the first thing they say? That's the first thing they say. What about your children? Don't you care about your children? Now, Easter, oh man, Easter egg hunts, bunny rabbits, and wait a minute, you make sure you get that Easter outfit for church for Easter Sunday. You best to get, sisters, you need that special hat cocked to the side, and you need them special pumps on, and you got to get yourself in shape because them dresses got to be fitting right when you go to church on Easter Sunday. And don't you want your kids to have the chocolate bunny egg? What's wrong with having a little chocolate? I bought a whole chocolate bunny rabbit for you. You got to come. I bought it for little Johnny. Whole chocolate bunny rabbit. You get it if you eat your ham at dinner. And then, forget it, Halloween, you get all of the scariest costume. Look now, you get the scariest costume you can. Or the one that makes you look like somebody else. Who you dressed up as? I'm dressed up as Thomas Jefferson. I'm dressed up as somebody from Raiders of the Lost Ark. Or I'm dressed up as Michael Corleone. I'm dressed up as the Godfather. Somebody you not. In other words, deception. But it's all fun. It's for the kids. And what do you give them? Candy. Now, there's a fourth. Thanksgiving. Now, Thanksgiving is a little different in that you're giving thanks, right? You're supposed to be giving thanks. That's the object of Thanksgiving. Now, but the initial Thanksgiving was to give thanks for having slaughtered them Indians and having survived all that smallpox. But we give thanks now. So that's a little different. It's not as white Christian, honestly, as the other ones. But the other ones, oh my gosh, them 3 appointed feasts. But that woman was murdered by her younger brother because they was fighting over the Christmas present. Wait a minute. But that happens. Lord, tell me if I'm lying. Do not a lot of people get killed in families on Christmas? There's about 3 holidays, but really there's really 2 times a year when there's the most violent. I mean, there's Christmas, obviously, very violent on Christmas. I think every year you get multiple people that die on Christmas. And I'm not talking about by accident. I'm talking about by purpose. I'm talking about by rage. Rage, we talked about that, didn't we? There are people that die by the virtue of, I shouldn't say virtue, by the evil of rage. Is that correct? Another one is New Year's Eve also. But Christmas is a big one. Families get together and somebody gonna die. There's gonna be a fight. Somebody gonna pull out a gun. Nowadays, back when I was a kid, they pulled out knives. You know, my Hebrew brethren, they pulled out knives, right? Hatchets and knives of all types. You know, the long ones, the short ones, the steak ones. Sometimes they couldn't get a knife, they grab a fork. But they did have something like that. But nowadays, it's gats. They pulling out gats and 14 and 15 over the Christmas present. This is Asatan's feast. And everything that Asatan has to do with regard to a feast, brethren, we have to understand something. First of all, like for example, in the world, the most powerful economic system in terms of creating wealth, like unridiculous wealth, is capitalism. And capitalism is based on greed. Now, some people don't like capitalism because in capitalism, when somebody gets fabulously rich, that means a whole bunch of other people get fabulously poor. Generally how it works. Somebody got to step on somebody else so that somebody can get ahead. And I mean step on them. Now, that being the case, some people want socialism. Like Brother Fred Hampton believed in socialism and Marxism as distributing things equally. Brothers posed as trying to work with Fred and came to him. It was talking about creating a bank, and Fred caught it. The boy was only 19, 20 and caught it. He said, wait a minute, you create a bank, then you start becoming like the colonists. You start colonialism again. So he understood where they was going when they started talking about bank for the people, right? But one thing no world man-made system can do, okay? No man-made system, none can do this, what I'm about to tell you. No man-made system on the earth can get rid of greed. As long as you have greed, it will never be fair. As long as greed exists, there will never be any fairness in any system. I don't care which one it is. As long as greed exists, it doesn't matter what the system is. Communism is supposed to be commune, everybody share. But you go look over there in communist China, there's a small group of Chinese men that run that nation. And they are elite. And if you don't think so, go over there and do what they tell you not to do and see what happens to you. Okay? So I don't care what the system is. As long as there is greed and lust for power, it will always remain like we have it now. Now, with all this in mind, I brought up the point that it's only been about 25 years since we've been awakening, because now the only hope for planet Earth is our awakening. Now, I'm going to say some things that's going to be stunning to the Christians, but listen here. I mean, seriously. How many Christians you figure like in the world? Like if I was to say there's at least 500 million Christians, would you agree with me? Am I being like totally overboard if I said that there's at least 500 million people that identify with some form of a Christian established religion? Is that correct? And yet, even though there's 500 million people or more that are claiming to be Christian, the world is filled with greed. It's filled with lust for power. In fact, many of these people that came to be Christian hate Hebrews and are actively working to destroy us. And they claim to love Jesus. What they do, they love white Jesus. He don't exist in this Bible. There's no white Jesus. There's no white Jesus in the King James Bible. Okay? So with all the Christians, greed still exists. War still exists. Widows, orphans still exist. Hey, wait a minute. Child sex slavery still exists. Child prostitution and child pornography still exists. Still exists. With all them Christians. All right, let's break this down, man. Among us will be the 144,000. We are praying now for the glorifying of Father Yah alone, not for any church, not for any organized religion or man-made group that calls themselves Christianity or Buddhism or Islam or Judaism. No, for the Father alone. And in that, we'd be like Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, who all lived for the Father alone. In that, we'd be like Isaiah and Jeremiah and Ezekiel and Daniel, who lived for the glory of the Father alone. In that, we'd be like Messiah, who said, I don't do anything. I don't say anything except it be from my Father. And he said, I don't want to do this thing and die for these people. He said, but not my will, Father, thy will be done. That's what the Messiah said. He said, let this cup, you don't believe me? He said, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not my will, thy will be done. He said, I pray not for the world. I pray for those which you have given me, for they're thine, Father. Pray to your Father, he told us, which is in secret. And the Father who seeth in secret will reward thee openly. That's Messiah teaches. I will pray to Father, the Messiah said, and he will give you another comforter, even the Spirit of the truth, which the world cannot see. There you go. And he told that to his Hebrew Israelite disciples. So, we are being prepared, brethren, right now. In the next 3.5 years after this coming year, 2024, we are being prepared according to the scriptures, as we've seen the meaning of the feast that the Father gave us, the real feast, not the man-made feast of white Jesus, but the man-made feast of white Jesus from Asatan. No, the Bible feast. We've seen from the Bible feast the prophetic utterance. We understand what's coming, and he's preparing us to give a message with the power. Zechariah chapter 3. Zechariah chapter 3. Actually, Zechariah chapter 4. Zechariah chapter 4. Verse 6. Thus he answered and spake unto me. Zechariah 4:6, saying, this is the word of Yahweh unto Zerubbabel, that is, those descended from Babylon, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith Yahweh of hosts. We're waiting, we are seeking our Father for what he told us. In fact, notice the Messiah example again, Acts chapter 1. Verse 6, 7, and 8. Acts chapter 1, verse 6, 7, and 8. When they therefore were come together, they asked of him, saying, Master, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel? And he said unto him, It is not for you to know the times or the seasons which the Father hath in his own power, but ye shall receive power. After that, the Holy Ghost is come upon you, and ye shall be witnesses unto me, both in Jerusalem and in all Judea and in Samaria and unto the uttermost parts of the earth. Revelation chapter 18 and verse 1 and 2. Revelation chapter 18. We are being prepared to give a message that is going to be attended with power. This power the earth has not seen on this level since the apostles walked the earth. Here we are, Revelation chapter 18, verses 1 and 2. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lighted with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hole of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Let's go down to verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, that ye receive not of her plagues. One more. Let me give you two more, okay? Let's go to Joel. Joel, we'll finish with these. Ezekiel, Daniel, Hosea, Joel, and Amos. Let's go to Joel chapter 2. Joel chapter 2. I'm going to start at verse 23, from verse 23, and I'm going to go down to verse 29. Actually, 23 to 32. Joel chapter 2, from verse 23 to verse 32. Be glad then, ye children of Zion, specific, and rejoice in Yahweh your Most High, for he hath given you the former rain moderately. That fell on the Hebrews at Pentecost. And he will cause to come down for you the rain, the former rain, and the latter rain in the first. And the floors shall be full of wheat, and the vat shall overflow with wine and oil. And I will restore unto you the years that the locust hath eaten, the cankerworm and the caterpillar and the palmer worm, my great army, which I sent among you. And ye shall eat in plenty and be satisfied. Praise the name of Yahweh your Most High, that hath dealt wondrously with you. My people shall never be ashamed. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel. Very specific. That I am Yahweh your Most High, and none else, and my people shall never be ashamed. And it shall come to pass that afterward I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions, and also upon the servants and upon the handmaids. And in those days I will pour out my spirit, and I will show wonders in the earth, in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of Yahweh come. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of Yahweh shall be delivered. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as Yahweh have said. And in the remnant, the 144,000, whom Yahweh shall call, is calling. One more. Brother Beckman, game time. Ezekiel chapter 37. Ezekiel chapter 37. Ezekiel chapter 37. Well, I'm not going to read this whole chapter, but I suggest you read the whole chapter when you get a chance. But here, Ezekiel chapter 37, go down from verse 1. From verse 1 to verse 12. Hey, listen, brethren, question before we read from 1 to 12 of Ezekiel 37. Here's a quiz question for tonight. When the Father and the Messiah raise his people from the dead, when he calls us from the dead, what is that called? The Bible has a term for it. Like when you die and he calls you back from your grave, like he did with Lazarus. What is that called? Oh, yes, it's called the resurrection. Okay, Ezekiel chapter 37, from 1 to 12. Actually, let's go to 13. No, 14. Ezekiel chapter 37, from 1 to 14. Ezekiel 37, 1 to 14. This is the last one for the night. That's right. And the hand of Yahweh was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of Yahweh and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones, and caused me to pass by them round about. And behold, they were very many in the open valley. And lo, they were very dry. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, Most High Yahweh, thou knowest. Again he said to me, Prophesy upon these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of Yahweh. Thus saith the Most High Yahweh unto these bones, Behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live. And I will lay sinews upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and ye shall live. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh. For I prophesied, so I prophesied as I was commanded. And as I prophesied, there was a noise. And behold, a shaking. And the bones came together, bone to his bone. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came up upon them, and the skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. Then said he unto me, Prophesy unto the wind, prophecy, son of man, and say to the wind, Thus saith the Most High Yahweh, Come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived and stood upon their feet, an exceeding great army. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, Our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. Therefore, prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith the Most High Yahweh, Behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves and bring you into the land of Israel. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh, when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves, and shall put my spirit in you, and ye shall live. And I shall place you in your own land. Then shall ye know that I, Yahweh, have spoken it and performed it, saith Yahweh. Game time. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom.